What's good, YouTube? Quinn Wade basketball analysis coming to y'all with a quick video. Today we gonna talk about Jusuf Nurkic and the Portland Trail Blazer team. A couple years ago, surprised the NBA with Damian Lillard becoming the franchise player, LaMarcus Aldridge leaving, Wesley Matthews gone, Nicholas Batum leaving, and all he was left with was some mediocre players and the expectations of how good CJ McCollums can be. And Damian Lillard proved that he was one of the best players in the league, one of the best scorers in the league, and he did that, leading the team to the playoffs ever since he got that mantle. He got to Portland, they've been in the playoffs. He lost his best players, and they still in the playoffs. But nobody seen them coming. Even the Portland fans never would have thought 3 years from now that they'd be fighting for the number 3 seed in the Western Conference with teams like OKC, Houston, Golden State, San Antonio, Denver, and of course you have to mention other teams. Nobody seen this, and even if you go back to this season, they was far off from being the number 3 seed. San Antonio, Minnesota, injuries happen. Jimmy Butler gets injured. Kawhi Leonard gets injured. They still went out there and played that game. They still went out there and played hard, and they kept winning. While these teams was losing, they kept winning, and Damian Lillard took advantage of that. Just because the team get injured, they still gonna try to fight, and they still was able to win. Nobody saw this season that the Blazers would be the number 3 seed in the Western Conference, and it looks most likely that they're gonna lock it up because how good CJ, Dame, and Nurkic has been. I'm not gonna lie, I was a guy that was a fan of Nurkic. Um, Obviously, he has shown that he can be a starter. Remember, he was starting a little bit in Denver. They got rid of him because he couldn't really play with Jokic, and I thought that was a mistake back then. But realistically, we have to keep it real. Nurkic couldn't play on Denver anyway. Not only does he not match well with Jokic, they will have to pay. They paid Paul Millsap. They're going to have to pay Jamal Murray. They're going to have to pay Jokic when his contract is up. He outplayed his contract years ago, and they wouldn't have enough money to get Nurkic. So why not trade him and get what you can, and let him go do his thing. And I feel like that was a good opportunity for Nurkic. Nurkic, he showed potential of being a good center. He showed that he can post up. He showed that he had a 15 and in game. He showed that he's a good rebounder. He's a solid defender. He's a solid rotation defender. Is he an exceptional defender? No. Is he an amazing defender? No, but he does put effort. He does play hard, and he is a physical center, something that you don't really see nowadays in the game. A tough, big body, set hard screen, dive to the basket, bump you, knock you around. He's more like an old school center, and I felt like the Portland Trail Blazers, honestly, they tried to get Noah Vonleh, they tried to get Ed Davis, and these guys wasn't strong enough. These guys wasn't good enough, so they had to take a chance on a big man that can help change their whole identity. A guy that somebody like me would think is a missing piece on this roster because they had no inside game. Damian Lillard can get to the paint and finish, but he's not really known as an inside player. He's mostly known for being a shooter. Same with CJ. CJ always showed that he can get to the basket. He always showed that he's a solid pick and roll player. But if you watch a lot of CJ games, he's taking a lot of jumpers. He's taking a lot of threes. Even though he still get out in transition and get to the basket, that's not really what you know CJ for. You know him as a scorer, but mostly as a shooter. And they need, with Ed Davis and Noah Vonleh, they had the size, they have the length, but those guys ain't tough. Those guys ain't strong. Those guys don't defend the paint the way Nurkic do. And to get a guy, not only has he been solid for them, you have to also factor in that Damian Lillard and CJ are a little young, and you're getting a guy that's 23 years old, and Jusuf Nurkic, a legitimate 7 feet tall center at 23 years old, and on top of that, he's a 280-pound man. He's a 280-pound center. And he's only 23 years old. He won't be 24 until next season. So you get a guy that's showing potential. You get a guy that even Zach Lowe said, if I had to pick one guy on the Denver Nuggets, I think Jusuf Nurkic is a guy that's untradeable. And then they trade him because they found Jokic. And now Nurkic is showing why he is a solid player, but he's a starter in this league. He can make a difference. And they have become one of the better defensive teams. We don't know CJ McCollum as a defender. We don't know Damian Lillard as a defender. And they never was defenders. And honestly, they're still not defenders to this day. But they have became, as a unit, as a team, a good collective of I trust you, I help you, we know where we're supposed to go. They have a good scheme and they have an anchor now in Nurkic. And even though Jokic and Nurkic have two different type of styles, two different types of play, obviously we can just go ahead and give credit to Jokic. He is a more versatile player. His ability to shoot the three, his ability to be a better playmaker, his ability to be a better shooter in general makes him, a better, well-rounded player. But for a team like Portland, you have to get as much talent as you can because you don't see too many big-name free agents going to Portland. Even if you go back all the way back since the history of Portland, they never been a free agent destination. They never been a team that people wanted to go to. And honestly, they're still not because Damian Lillard has been on this team for years, and they still haven't been able to draw any superstar players to come with him. CJ McCollum was drafted by them, and he actually was injured a lot and didn't even get that many minutes. We knew he can score, we knew he could play, but he was never able to put it together until they let Wesley Matthews go and Nicholas Batum go. And obviously he's been able to stay healthy ever since, and he has been able to be a good 1B to Damian Lillard because Damian Lillard takes more shots and does more, but he is the point guard and CJ is a shooting guard, so the ball should be in the point guard hands more than the shooting guard anyway. But honestly, I like this pickup for them. But the question I have to ask, and you guys know I'm good at this, and if you look at this roster and you look at how it's built and you look at the players on this roster, you start to wonder about the future of this team as they are the number 3 team in the West. Nobody is really picking them to get to the Western Conference Finals. Nobody's really picking them to be championship favorites, even though they is a top 3 team in the West. And a lot of people don't even call them contenders. So a lot of people can say they're the benefit of Jimmy Butler going down. They're the benefit of, obviously Kawhi Leonard not being healthy. And they took advantage of that. You can say OKC should have did it too, but they really haven't. And Portland been going out there going on win streaks and winning games, and they have put themselves in a position where they can get home court advantage. They still gonna have a tough first round matchup, but Damian Lillard already done made it out of the first round as a key player to the team, and he has as much confidence as any other player that you have in this league as a star. And so does CJ. CJ feel like he can score and take over against anybody. They basically been playing against the Warriors the last couple of years, even though the Warriors have been beating them and eliminating them every season. Damian and CJ still have confidence that they can play and beat them at the end of the day. And one thing I will say, do you think at 23, do you think Nurkic as is right now, he's still an unfinished product? He still need a little bit more brushes and a little bit more polishing on his game. Currently, he averaging a career high across the board of he's coming back off the injury, but he's averaging a career high of 14 points for a complete season. He played 70 games this year. He's coming off a broken leg last year. He's shooting 49%, 64% from the free throw line, 8.7 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, and 14.2 points a game. And honestly, if you look at this roster, and you look at the future, and you look at Damian, you look at CJ, you do start to wonder how good can this team be? You start wondering how dominant can this team be? Because if they do what I'm going to ask is, should Nurkic get paid the max? Denver didn't want to do it because they couldn't. They wanted to commit to Jokic instead of committing to Nurkic. Do you think that given Nurkic, remember Damian Lillard got over 100 million, CJ got 100 million, and it looks like Nurkic will be getting 100 million too. Do you think that three-headed monster of Nurkic, McCollum, and Damian Lillard can really contend for a championship? Do you think they really can get with teams like the Rockets, teams like the Wolves that's up and coming? You have teams like the Pelicans that we don't know what their future holds, but they are a good team. You have a lot of young teams like Utah, like Denver. Do you think, as currently constructed, they're going to have to rely a lot on Maurice Harkless? They're going to have to rely a lot on Aminu. Can you rely on Aminu? Can you rely on Harkless? Can you rely on Nurkic in a big game, in a big series? Can you get to the NBA Finals with this current roster? If they do get Nurkic to commit, which I think he will, because it seems like he likes playing in Portland and he's willing to stay, especially because he's a starter and they love him there too. Do you think giving him 100 million will be a risk, or do you think it'd be more of a reward? And what I mean by that is, once they lock in Nurkic, because they paid Evan Turner, they paid some other guys on this roster, once they lock in the Nurkic, they ain't gonna have too much wiggle room. They're not gonna be able to, get another big name free agent, even though they struggle with that anyway. But once Nurkic get locked in, they're locked into this three-headed monster. Is it gonna be good enough? Can they find that one piece to take this team over the top? That perimeter player at the three, that perimeter player at the four. Can they find that guy with Nurkic, McCollum, and Damian getting 100 million each? Can they ever get over the hump? Will they need some luck? Would they need some injuries like this year? What would they have to do to win a championship with this team? Because honestly, they're going to be bound for mediocrity if they can't find that fourth guy. And that's a perimeter wing or four, or even having a great bench, which they have a solid bench. But we will have to see if one of those guys can develop, if one of those guys can, get traded, or they can package them together and get a guy to come in through trade like they did with Nurkic. Other than that, I don't really know how good this team will be. I don't really know how far this team will go with a big three only having one legitimate all-star / star. CJ is a closer. He is a star, but he never made it to the all-star team. He never made it to an all-NBA team. And Nurkic has yet to even average or come close to averaging 20 points a game, which means he might not even be a top 10 center in his league, which he should be, but, is arguable. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, what you think about the Portland Trail Blazers. Check out my Facebook page at analysisplayground.com. Link will be in the description, comment section below. And also check out my website, analysisplayground.com. Link will be in the description, comment section below. I'm gone.